Hello, everyone. It's time to eat, drink, and be merry with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We call them IFTWA. It's an easier way to say. But we're excited to welcome back Amy Nesler. She is from the San Juan Islands Visitor Bureau, and the San Juan Islands are up in Washington State. You can go to visitsanjuans.com. So welcome back, Amy. How are you?
Great, Lisa. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, this is cool. I want to refresh people if they've never heard you on the show with us and don't know where the San Juans are. That's Juans, where you are in Washington State, and obviously looking towards like going from Seattle would probably be the good base camp for people to figure out.
Okay, great. Well, we're actually, and as we like to say, we're in the heart of the Salish Sea here, because we're about, as the crow flies, about 100 miles from Seattle. Of course, there's not really a direct way unless you're flying to get here, but we're actually kind of right in between three great visitor destinations between Seattle, Victoria, and Vancouver. We're kind of right in the middle of all three of those.
Oh, that's cool. So, so that's when the IFTWA conference at sea is happening this year in October. They're going from Vancouver to Los Angeles on the Discovery Princess. So they're going to be waving at you. Are they going to stop? They should come see you.
But I don't think, well, I think that ship is too big to come see us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Because you guys are smaller islands, and you've been on shows before talking about how important it is to be environmentally responsible when you come over to the islands. Okay.
Yes. No, that is very much kind of, as we like to say, like it's, our theme is very much set your mind to island time. And it's really kind of just embracing slow travel. When you come to the islands, unless you're trying to catch a ferry, you really don't need to be in a hurry to do anything.
Okay. That's a good piece of advice. Yeah. So a ferry boat is big enough, but like the big cruise ships, that's too big to get into your islands.
Correct.
And not saying that they're not environmentally responsible. I'm just saying like you have you're smaller to turn those boats around. But the ferry, is that the only way to get to you is through a ferry?
The ferry is probably the most popular way to get to us. They leave actually from Anacortes, Washington, which is about 2.5 hours, depending on the traffic, north of Seattle. So most people, say the primary thing, people fly into Seattle and then either rent a car or take a shuttle up to Anacortes.
Okay.
The other way of getting here is actually with one of our small airlines, usually Kenmore Air. They will leave either from Boeing Field in Seattle or Lake Washington or Lake Union if you want to take a float plane, which definitely I can't. That's a fun experience. I recommend that, trying it at least once.
So those are like those seaplanes almost like what they have in Alaska?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, actually very, very similar. Yes.
So how do you get around to the different islands once you get over to your island chain? Like, because I know you have all these events coming up. We're going to talk about Savor the San Juans. How do you get around once you get there if you're coming in on a ferry or one of the float planes?
Yes, there is the inter-island ferry. And so usually what I recommend people do, if you're looking to do more than one island, I say come to San Juan Island first, because that's actually the farthest west you can come and still be in the US.
Okay.
And then because any island hopping you do going eastbound, you won't have to pay a second time on the ferry, especially if you brought your vehicle. So that way, definitely. So you can just kind of island hop. And so usually go San Juan, Orcas, Lopez, back to Anacortes.
Oh, okay. So you can bring your car on the ferry too. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. We didn't do that when we were up in, we were in Anacortes, still driving through Whidbey Commando, but we didn't get to you yet. But hopefully this next year we're coming up. So we're hoping to be back up again. So you never know. We haven't done the ferry yet. We have not done the ferry experience in this country yet. So I think you guys have to be the first. Like we have to do that.
Yeah. And we understand it is a little bit, can be intimidating if you're not used to it, because not every state has a ferry system, certainly. And we recommend, please call us, reach out to us. Like if you have questions about the ferry, we are happy to help you
Mm.
walk through it. And
Oh, cool. But it's kind of cool. I mean, we did it when we lived in Kenya. We used to go on ferries, and those were kind of scary. Like some of those with these little river ones, and then you're hoping, like, really, like there was no one to call. It was like some guy tugging your little raft across the river. So this is
Yep,
a little, yeah, you're a little bit more sophisticated, even though you're on island time.
yeah,
So
these are big car ferries. Yeah,
okay,
nothing
that's
to
a little
worry about
different.
there. Yeah.
That's a little different. That's cool. So everyone needs to know because you want to plan to go in fall. And I think this is really cool because I think a lot of times people will think about going to your area in summer more than fall. And what's interesting, you've got the Savor, the San Juan Islands, and this is the 16th annual event. And this is all about food, farm, and also a little bit of, well, there's a little bit of film, food, farm, and film, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is really cool, but it goes from what, September 22nd through November 11th. So this is a really cool thing for people to experience you outside the typical summer kind of throngs, right?
Yes, actually, it was born kind of as we were trying to expand into the shoulder seasons to really kind of encourage that sort of travel. It's like, yeah, we know families really like that's dictated by schools. Yes, that's going to be June, July, August. But fall especially is a really beautiful time here. And it started really just as the month of October. And at first it was just kind of that real food and farms sort of scene. And then the film festivals came on and it was like, oh, we could add film to this. And it's really, like I say, that's how
Nice.
it's grown to where the really kind of kicks off with the farm tours starting kind of the last week in September, because that's one of the best times for them with their harvest.
Oh, cool.
And that's really like, they do all kinds of things. We have so many farms here, more than you might think. And it's certainly like,
Yeah, how many? Yeah, can you give us an idea about the farm scene too? Because it seems like all of you guys, like in that whole region, we wouldn't think about all the agriculture going on, but farms are pretty like self-sustaining in a way. I mean, the islands are self-sustaining with what you have agriculture and breweries
yes.
and like spirits too.
Yeah, the farms, I don't know that I would quite get us to the point that where we could self-sustain.
Okay.
We certainly are getting there. There is some certain things we learned from COVID.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, I think this year, and this certainly isn't all the farms, but I think there's 32 farms participating in the farm tours in total. That goes for all three large islands. So there's about 8-ish per island, and they're different. I mean, some of them there's excuse me, there's some raise cattle, there's some have pigs, several have sheep. There's a lot of sheep.
Oh,
So there may be sheep shearing. Well, can't even say that 10 times fast. Sheep
but
shearing.
doesn't the sheep go back to the historic days with you had the sheep and the pigs on Friday Island and all that history? That kind of goes back to the French, you had French, English, and Italian camps, or
No,
my
that's just English and American camp.
why did I have the
Uh,
Italians in there?
I don't know where you got the.
I keep telling people there's Italians over there, but maybe there are. I'm sure you've got a lot of Italian people living there, but I just
No. Well, I think
okay.
possibly where you could have gotten that is actually our name, the San Juans. Sounds very Spanish. That's oftentimes why we get calls every week with people looking for information on Puerto Rico, which we are literally the opposite corner of the country.
I know, right? Like boom. Yeah.
But it was a Spanish explorer who actually wanted to name everything after the sponsor of his expedition, the Viceroy of Mexico, whose first name happened to be Juan. So
Oh.
that's where we get San Juan.
Okay. So that's cool. That's cool. So French, English, but there were sheep, there were pigs, but you still have sheep and pigs to this day. You've got to have pigs somewhere.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, actually there's I think there's some that actually raise the Mangalitsa pork, which I know
Oh.
can, getting fancy.
Yeah. I can't pronounce that. I know it's fancy. I can't pronounce
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think that's how you pronounce it. I may have completely butchered it. I have no
It-
idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
good
Pun
tie-in. That
intended.
was good. Well done. Did you do that on purpose?
No, I didn't. Yeah, but like on Lopez, there's also a goat dairy, which they have
Mm.
fantastic
Oh.
cheese. I highly recommend it.
Ooh.
And their farm stand is self-serve. You can go in and you get what you want out of the case. I highly recommend the Chev. It's fantastic.
Ooh.
And and it's a little different in the fall compared to the spring. It's usually because they're grazing on different things.
Oh, yeah, that's true too, right? Yeah, because we're not getting this mass-produced cheese. This is different. This is true farm to mouth.
Yes, and even as we like to say, we do farm to fork and tied to table food here.
Ah, see, that's now a seafood part of this in the fall or no? Okay.
Yeah,
People are gonna like that.
the shellfish farms will be part of the farm tours, as far as I'm aware. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, so that's really like you get to try an oyster fresh from the bay.
Wow. Right there. And then you've got breweries, you've got distilleries. Am I right on this?
Yeah,
I got the beer photo behind me. I had to.
Yeah,
I know yeah.
That's
it's Friday.
That's Island Hoppin Brewery. That's actually on Orcas Island. They were I think the first brewery here, and now we have one on each island. San Juan Island Brewing Company is here in Friday Harbor, and then Lopez Island has Bravado. But not only that, and we've got at least 2, possibly 3 distilleries. I know there's one maybe is, I think, in progress, hoping to open soon.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's actually our San Juan Island distillery just let me know they're rolling out a savory gin this fall that will have chanterelle mushrooms in it.
Wow.
Yes, I was kind of intrigued.
Yeah, it's gonna be earthy. That's gonna be earthy. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, do you have people go out and look for mushrooms out on the island? Do you have that kind of terrain? And
Yes.
for like what really?
Yeah, there are a few folks within the islands who will take people out. That is kind of a very specialty thing, though. And actually, Doe Bay Resort on Orcas Island, the general manager will do guided hikes into Moran State Park, which is which is their neighbor, and teach people how to forage.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust myself going without a guide. Like I wouldn't know what to eat.
Yeah,
that's.
I think in fall they're usually looking for morels, but I could.
Oh. I didn't even know you would be able to do that in the fall. I always thought it was like a spring, summer kind of thing. I didn't think about fall. I have no clue.
Let's see. I could be wrong on the timing, but I know they do go looking for morels.
That's cool. So you've got the food, you've got the drinks for sure, right? What about coffee and things like? Do you have coffee? I mean, people think of Washington State and think of coffee for sure.
Yeah, we actually we're starting to grow the number of coffee roasters here in the islands. There's at least 3 that I'm aware of, if not.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's some of them. It's like people they're looking for like Stumptown coffee, which I know originates in Portland, but yes, there are places that serve it here. But then we do have some local roasters.
Wow.
My personal favorite is Local Goods. They're based on Orcas as well.
Ah, okay. Well, what about the bakeries to go with this? We can't talk about coffee without bakeries. I want cake and donuts and like all the stuff I'm not supposed to have. You can't. Yeah, we need the naughties.
Oh yes, yeah. There's lots of those around as well. actually, yeah, I can't even think of the number of them. And some of them actually are available. That kind of thing is available at the farmers markets.
Oh, cool.
So it's not necessarily a brick and mortar, but it's they'll have a stand at the farmers market.
So how long do your farmers markets run? Are they year round or not? I wouldn't think winter, right?
Usually at least through September.
Okay.
Sometimes into
Cool.
early October, and then occasionally there is a winter market, depending
Oh.
on the island. It's usually indoor. That can kind of be, that's often a little different. It's not quite the same type of farmers
Yeah, but you can
market.
have like some of those winter vegetables, you know. So
Mhm.
going to what's happening for the Savor, the San Juans. And everyone, if you go to visit sanjuans.com again, and I'll have the link in the show notes, no matter whether you're listening on YouTube and Facebook or Spotify, wherever, it'll be linked in there. You've got Island Farm Tour in September, then going the last weekend in September, Orca's Island Farm Tour. Then you got a Lopez Island Farm Tour.
Mhm.
And then you get into in October, 2 different film festivals. So where did the film aspect really come from? I mean, are these all independent films, or do you have a lot of filmmakers on the islands, or just, hey, let's have movies with this?
Well, there's, I was gonna say there's yes to multiple of those.
Okay.
The Friday Harbor Film Festival is very much about documentaries. They call it Stories from the Pacific Rim.
Okay.
So it's always like there's, it does have a very kind of strong environmental onus to it, because they've done a lot of documentaries about whales. There's documentaries about salmon, but there's also kind of stories from the heart. But it's really about it's films kind of from sort of the West Coast and
Oh, cool.
very that sort of regional. Orcas Island Film Festival, on the other hand, is very much sometimes someone described it. It's kind of like the Toronto Film Festival or the or Cannes. Like it is sometimes
wow.
for screenings of those,
Oh, wow.
or some of the early screenings of those. So it's less documentary and it is just kind of cinema. And then there's Q&A with directors and filmmakers and all kinds of things like that.
That's really neat. I think it goes well with the food. And I love that you have that blend of one, focusing on, hey, let's do documentaries. And I love documentaries. I'm just such a huge fan of, and especially when it gets to looking at the environmental things. So it's not like, us as audience members, just looking at headlines. You're getting the actual basis behind and seeing people's stories, actual people, people in the country or around the world telling their story, and seeing it. So I think it's really a huge deal. So I love that. And of course, we want the cinema and the entertainment and to have all those feelings that come with those kind of stories. So it's a nice balance. And it's fall. It kind of feels like movie season to me.
Yeah, and the Friday Harbor Film Festival also has a youth category, because we do have some of the schools here do their own film projects, and then sometimes they will submit those to the film festival. Cool. So yeah, we're really proud of like kind of the local, the entrepreneur, the artist, the people who want to push the envelope.
So at the end of it, so you got the arts in there. The end of it ends on November 11th. And that is all about hops on the rock. So you finish it off with let's have our brewskis, right? It's a big send off towards Thanksgiving.
Yes. Yeah, that's the back after COVID hiatus is the Orcas Island Beer Festival, Hops on the Rock. And that does get our local breweries in there, but they also have some come from around the region. And it's just to really kind of celebrate that sort of maker kind of spirit.
Well put again. You're good. You are the communications manager for a reason. She's got a way with words for sure. She's butchering with pigs. She's, getting into the spirits with brewskis. I'm into this. I think it's kind of cool now it goes into Thanksgiving. So you're kind of getting all these flavors and maybe gets people to think about Thanksgiving. What are they putting on their table, or where are they going to eat? And then maybe opens the doors to even some of the restaurants by understanding that farm to table. So tell us a little bit about that restaurant scene first for people to understand. Like, I know you have farm friendly restaurants, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of those, we don't have those events listed yet, but some restaurants will do kind of wine dinners where they'll feature one of our local either vineyards or makers, and then they'll have kind of, and it's a whole, evening of like, here's,
Here's
San
the
Juan
pig.
Fair. Yeah,
Here's the
yes.
here's
So
here's the
everything
pig
done within 10
that
miles.
Amy butchered. No,
Oh, God, no.
I know I couldn't either. But no, but but I think that's really cool. I mean, I know we're just skimming the surface of this, but it seems
Mhm.
really I mean, these are quite a few weeks of like so many events that people should probably look at going now. I mean, because of lodging, right? When you think about
Yes, I
you
would
want to,
start looking
yeah.
into what events people might be interested in. And all these will be on our Savor the San Juans kind of hub on our website, which is visitsanjuans.com/savor. So
Mm.
any events, and there's lodging specials there. And we have kind of some self-guided itineraries to help people, like, depending on what you're interested in. Do you like crab? Would you rather wine? Do you,
Yeah.
and
You want
where
the
to
butchered pig. Yeah.
yeah, and where to find those things.
Mm.
And some of our restaurants certainly will, like, it'll be right on the menu. Sometimes it's the back page. It'll say, tonight's supported by such and such farms.
Oh, cool.
And and not always all of those will be in the islands, but some of them are just to the east of us in the Skagit Valley. So it's still keeping it local, but not like right within
Yeah,
our
it's
county.
regional. It's regional,
Yeah,
which is good enough. It's different than if it's coming on a truck from New York or something,
yeah, or on a
It,
ship all the way from Peru.
yeah. What you're doing is so cool because you get this idea of the farmers and supporting them. And then when you think of Thanksgiving table, are people able to, other than farmers markets, which I know they're wrapping up at that time, get things locally as best they can by like for Thanksgiving, do you think if they're local or and that's
Um,
I mean, do the shops actually normally stock anything local that way in
some of it,
general?
yes,
Oh, cool.
yes. And for a lot of them, the farm stand will still be opened for those
Okay.
farms that have them, and I personally, like, that's one of my favorite things about our farm culture here, is they will
Mm.
have these kind of self-serve farm stands. It's completely on the honor system, which,
Wow.
who does that in 2023
Yeah,
anymore?
it's
And
cool.
it's just they're relying on you to write down what you take. Is it
Yeah.
tomatoes? Is it eggs? Is it this or
Yeah.
that? And then put your money in the box, and then you walk away.
Mm.
So and I think that's, like I say, that's one of my favorites. And there's definitely stands I will make sure and try and stop by. I'm like, oh, I wonder if they have the heirloom tomatoes yet, for example.
Yeah. Or like a fresh zucchini. Yeah, because when you get it, you're not overbuying either with everything. You know what I mean? You can purchase what you need. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which I love too. And then also eggs. There's nothing like farm fresh eggs. Like really, there's a huge difference. It's
Yeah,
night and day. There's nothing like it. Really.
yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I mean, I feel like so many of the stands I end up driving by, it's always like I see sign after sign on the road where it's like fresh eggs, fresh eggs. So many people have chickens here. Even, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a farm. Just the average person, even that just has some acreage, if they have chickens, they'll sometimes have a little stand with a cooler, and there again, it's just that self-serve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, actually, a friend of mine, I bumped into her in the parking lot. She goes, "Do you eat eggs?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Can I bring you some?"
Oh,
Because
that's
they've got more
cool.
than they can use.
Oh,
And
see.
yeah, well, what I didn't realize was some meant 2 dozen, but sure.
Yeah, just put them in the freezer, Amy. I'm kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
was saying, I didn't think you could freeze
I
eggs.
don't think that works. I don't think
I
that
don't think
works,
it
but
does.
So going towards fall, because I know we're still in summer, so there's
Mhm.
lots to do recreation wise. Does recreation still, like weather wise, can you still go kayaking? I know you've got so much opportunity for people to do like the scenic byway. That's something you could
Mhm.
do in fall, right? Hiking, I would still go. You could just bundle up for kayaking, wear a wetsuit.
Yes. By October, usually most of the formal kayak tours are kind of have wrapped for the season. Sometimes the water's just getting a little rougher to where maybe that's not as
Oh, okay.
because while we generally our waters here tend to be calm, you know, there's certainly we get currents and sometimes things where it's
Hmm.
especially later in the fall where it's like, yeah, kayaking might not be the safest thing to do right now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh,
But hiking, certainly any time of year, go out hiking.
mm,
We've got lots of good trails for it, and and as they say, there's no bad weather, just bad clothing,
right.
which is especially true here in the Northwest. It's like if you go out and you're prepared for it, you can still have a great time, even
Yeah.
even when it rains.
Yeah, and you have some good winds out there too. Like I remember the coastal winds, but it's like this fresh air. It's like
Very.
it's like wow, it just wakes you up. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like wow. Okay,
Yes.
I'm awake. Like, but I still want my coffee. Because you got good roasteries, right? So,
Yeah.
you want that but it's I don't know, it just makes you be really alive and to see mountains full of snow and water and just I don't it's beautiful. That whole region is just gorgeous. We haven't finished doing it all. We're going to come up your way soon, but I want to like finish it because I don't think you can ever finish it a region, but
No.
I want to see the lighthouses and all of that. I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. It's charming. It's that's what's interesting. It's charming yet laid back, you know?
Yes.
You,
Yes.
that's cool. Where it hasn't gone pretentious because that ruins things. You
I
know what I
could.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I haven't been to your area yet, but you know what I mean. The region, I'm just saying
Yeah.
as a region,
Yeah.
it's
No, I would say we're still laid back enough, and yeah, that there's really not that sort of. Um, I mean, even in some cases, like you still feel like there's can be a little bit of a hippie vibe,
yeah, yeah, why not?
or
That's all good.
bohemian,
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on.
Nobody's that's cool, man. You're in an island. You're supposed to be like that,
Yeah.
We got three islands. What, three, four? How many islands do you have now?
Officially in the archipelago, we have 172 that have names, but the primary ones people visit are San Juan Island, Orcas Island, and Lopez Island.
Which
Those
one
are
is,
the three
where's Friday
biggest
Harbor? 'Cause I
on
think I
San
was
Juan
calling
Island.
Sa- I think I called it Friday Island just now, but
That's
Friday
okay.
Harbor, Friday Harbor. You see, you do this until you go there, then you know, that you're
Yes.
never going to get it straight unless you go personally and experience a place. But that's cool that you have those harbors too. I mean, and that's another, do you have a lot of people coming in the summer that are just sailing and come and stay
Yes.
on their boats?
Yes. Yeah, we are a very popular, as they say, kind of cruising destination for people coming through the region
Mm.
on their own boats.
Ah, cool.
Some people come as far as California. A lot of people are
Mm,
coming mostly from around Washington,
mm.
or in some cases, in from Canada.
Cool. That's so cool that you're so close to Canada as well, you know?
Yeah, well, depending on where you are in the islands, sometimes your cell phone will say, "Welcome to Canada."
Yeah. Right now, as we're recording this, we're in Wisconsin and suddenly I go to different temperatures and all kinds of things. And now they're saying we may see northern lights. I'm like, what just happened? It could
So
happen.
we get northern lights here every now and again.
Really? Oh, it's
Hmm.
supposed to happen this weekend. Let's see. Ooh,
Yep.
we'll see. We'll
I'll
find
keep an
out.
eye out.
I know. What is your night sky like? That's something to think about because isn't October like on the Pacific coast, kind of not as much like cloud cover and everything. Is that I don't know if that's more of Southern California that I'm thinking of, but in your area, what's the night sky like?
Um, it can be, well, it's beautiful here. First, because we really don't have kind of, there's not a lot of city light. So it gets very, very dark. And yeah, there can be nights where it's cloudy and maybe there's not as much visibility. But certainly there's a lot of nights, and still into October, yeah, you can get clear nights, and there's just and you don't even have to be out of Friday Harbor to see that. Like, I can be standing up in front of my house and I'm looking up and it's just like, dang.
Wow.
There's stars everywhere.
Oh man, that's magic. That's magic. That's the other thing about going to destinations like that. It kind of opens your eyes and makes you think about going home. And it's like, do you really need all those lights on outside? Maybe not,
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of inspires that. Very cool. So everyone visit sanjuans.com is the website. And everyone go to ifwtwa.org, especially if you're a destination or a travel writer, travel photographer, a great resource for everyone to connect and network. And like I was saying, they also have that conference at sea coming up in October, and that's all on their website. And we're here every second Friday, every second Tuesday, third Monday, third Friday with the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. And you can keep up with us with these shows, our food wine travel shows with them at bigblendradio.com. So Amy, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Glad to be here.
You know what? I'm ready for some pig. Pig and a brewski, some pork and a brew. That's like, sounds good to me. It sounds good.
You let me know when you're in the neighborhood and we'll hook you up.
For sure.